1 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. Here is a trustworthy saying: whoever aspires to be an overseer desires a noble task. Now the overseer is to be above reproach, faithful to his wife, temperate, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not given to drunkenness, not violent but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. He must manage his own family well and see that his children obey him, and he must do so in a manner worthy of full respect. If anyone does not know how to manage his own family, how can he take care of God's church? He must not be a recent convert, or he may be conceited and fall under the same judgment as the devil. He must also have a good reputation with outsiders, so that he will not fall into disgrace and into the devil's trap. So this is just one text that we'll be looking at this coming Sunday as we talk about elders. And it talks about the qualifications of an elder. And another thing for us to remember as we get into this text, remember that Paul is writing a letter to Timothy, who he's left behind in the city of Ephesus, to basically combat some false doctrines, some false teachers there. We might remember from Paul saying farewell to the Ephesian elders. He warns them about wolves who will come up among them. Timothy has been posted there in Ephesus in order to combat those wolves. And as he talks about that to Timothy in these letters, part of what Timothy's job is going to be is to point out and raise up elders. And so in that, Paul gives him kind of a reminder of what an elder should look like, the qualifications of an elder. So let's begin. First, here is a trustworthy saying: whoever aspires to be an overseer desires a noble task. So the trustworthy saying. So this is a saying in the early church, and it's a good one. Whoever aspires to be an overseer desires a noble task. So it is a noble task to aspire to be an overseer. It's important that the desire to be an overseer is it's an important part of it. In 1 Peter 5, you'll remember that Peter says, don't do this under compulsion. And so a willingness to do the role is super important here. So just because someone aspires does not mean that they are therefore qualified. And those qualifications begin. So kind of here's that intro. And really it's an encouragement. Someone wants to be an elder? Great. You want to be an overseer? Great. Here's the qualifications. Now, the overseer is to be above reproach. We'll just number these: faithful to his wife, temperate, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not given to drunkenness, not violent but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. He must manage his own household well and see that his children obey him, and he must do so in a manner worthy of full respect. He must not be a recent convert, or he may be conceited, fall under the same judgment. He must also have a good reputation with outsiders so that he will not fall in disgrace in the devil's trap. Okay, so we have 15 qualifications here in 1 Timothy alone. It's probably the most thorough list we have in the New Testament. There are other things that you could pull from other texts. 1 Peter, Timothy, Titus would be other ones, Titus 1. But let's jump into this one. Okay, so the first one is above reproach. And I'm going to kind of highlight ones that have to deal with reputation. Above reproach, respectable, able to teach, and I'll talk about why that's kind of a outside perspective as well later on. Manage his own family well, and do so in a manner worthy of full respect, and then good reputation. So if you see there, numbers 1, 5, 7, 12, and 15 all relate and 13 all relate strongly to image and reputation. I want to be really careful here because it's tempting to think that therefore elders need to always be focused on their image. And the idea is never that you would lie to look good. That is never encouraged at all. Instead, quite the opposite. Let's take a look. You have a good reputation with outsiders. He's managing his own family well, so that's an inside view. His children have to obey him. So it's not just what outsiders think. What does your family think of you? Men are worthy of full respect. Above reproach just means that there's this kind of it's known that this person is not given to sin. They're not living in that sort of way. Respectable, such a powerful word, right? Not only that they're above reproach, but they live in a way that kind of garners the respect of others. And then able to teach is another one. The reason I put this in this category is that other people judge whether or not someone is able to teach, whether or not it's effective, whether it's clear. All these things related to one another. And I think what we're really seeing is that inside, all the way to the outside, we want to see that there is a consistent character in this person and that it is well known. And let's get into it. So first, above reproach, it's really that no charge of sin could be leveled against this person. Not saying that he's perfect, but there's no obvious sin or chronic sin in this person's life. Let's talk about respectable real fast. That he lives in a way worthy of other people's respect. It is easy to give this person respect. Able to teach. I'm just going to leave it at that. Manage his own family well. Managing the family well. Other versions will use household. And that would be everything. That would be your business. That would be your family. That would be your kids. If you had slaves, that would be your slaves. But the idea is, does the family thrive under his leadership? Secondly, do his children obey him? In the Titus 1 version of this, it says faithful for the kids. And some have taken that to mean that the kids must be believing. But I think that Titus 1 text is best explained here in 1 Timothy 3, that faithful often in the New Testament will refer to behavior. And so here the idea is that the kids are faithful, that the kids obey the father, and then do so in a manner worthy of full respect. So if you are able to manage your own household well and your kids obey you through abuse, this is not worthy of full respect, right? That's not what we want to see. But if it's through respect, that means this person is a leader and they do so well. Their family respects them, and that's what's important here. And then this gets applied, by the way, marvelously to if anyone does not know how to manage his own family, then, and this is another if-then construction, right? So if, then, how can he take care of God's church, right? And so this lets us know as well, what is the role of overseer? Here, I'm going to highlight those in yellow. What's the role of overseer? And then we come down here, take care of God's church, okay? And then a key word there as well, manage. Boom. Okay. Back up to the second one, faithful to his wife. This would be a pretty unique characteristic in Greek society. Cheating was the norm. So this is literally one woman, man. It certainly would have meant that if a guy had two wives, that he wouldn't be able to be eligible for the office of elder. It would mean that if a guy, had been potentially, divorced or remarried, or was an adulterous man, something like that, that those would all call into question this. The big one that people wonder about is divorce. And I won't get into it here, but I think that not all divorce is the same. There may be some cases of divorce which wouldn't disqualify you from this. I think there's many cases of divorce that would disqualify you from being an elder in this situation here. The next one is temperate, and then I'm going to highlight these in pink. So temperate, self-controlled, not given to drunkenness, not violent but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. These ones relate to how does this person conduct themselves. A lot of these will get back to this kind of concept of self-control. We can put faithful in there as well. Really just not a, an adulterous person, not given to lust, if you will. So we'll move forward. Temperate here just means that they are not swayed easily by their emotions. Self-controlled means that, they do the thing that they want to do and they don't do the thing they don't want to do, right? Paul talks about that in Romans 7. Not given to drunkenness. This is great. So just want to be clear here. Alcohol is not outlawed for elders, but they may not be given to drunkenness, addicted to much wine. You will see in other versions. But the idea is that literally it's not a drunkard. So it's not one who gets drunk. It's not one who can be characterized by drunkenness. It doesn't mean that they are totally dry, but it means that alcohol has no staying power over them. Not violent, but gentle, right? So is his emotions in control, and does that show up in violence or gentleness? Quarrelsome, meaning he doesn't fight with people, pick fights, or get excited about fights. And not a lover of money. So money also has no control over him. If we look at all of these things, whether it's substances like alcohol or just, giving into our own sin in fighting or giving into our own greed, this person is none of those things. Another one is hospitality. And I love this, but now and this might, connect more with some of these other ones that are more outward facing. But hospitality, hospitable, he is he takes care of others. He's a servant, wherever he goes, and he brings people into his own home and shares with them out of what he has. So these are the qualifications for an elder. And we'll come down here to verse 6. He must not be a recent convert. That's number 14. And this is kind of another if-then. So it's given the possibility with this word may, right? He may become conceited and fall under the same judgment as the devil. The same judgment here as the devil. And then, so we should naturally be asking, like, what did the devil do? And we look here, conceit. Conceit precipitated the fall of Satan. He just thought that, he deserved the same glory as God did. And this is really one of the dangers of being a recent convert, and yet you kind of have that leadership ability or all of these character traits listed above, is that you can begin to think that, those things come from you and not from God, right? And if you think they come from you and not from God, well, then conceit quickly follows that, right? So there's a danger in being successful, if you will. I probably misspelt that. Sorry. Anyways, there's a danger in being successful, and that is that it's easy to become conceited, to think that you're the one to credit for all of this. And in that case, you'll fall under the same judgment as the devil. And so there is a good reason to just wait. Wait to make someone an elder. And what that causes is that person is like, that becomes a proving ground for humility. And you'll see whether or not that forms in that individual. And humility is super key. Although Paul doesn't list it here, Peter makes it very clear in 1 Peter 5. He must have a good reputation with outsiders. I love this. And there's another so that statement here. So that, I should put or and may. Okay. So that he will not fall into disgrace and into the devil's trap. And so this one, if you will, conceit, fall under judgment as the devil. And now we see on the other side that if someone has let's say someone has a bad reputation, let's just say hypothetically, that a bad reputation with outsiders, and he becomes an elder, there's a very real sense in which he's fallen into the devil's trap. And so what would the devil be doing in this? He would be using, he would in this sort of a situation use an elder, right, that no one knows is actually bad. Elder is actually bad, right? And one day it comes to light. A business deal, or he abuses his workers, or he doesn't repay his debts, and there's this disgrace that comes to the elder, and it's really the devil's trap here, because it goes and it harms the church, and it maligns God's name among the Gentiles, and all those sorts of things. So that kind of brings us to the end of this text. These 15 different traits. necessary to be an overseer, to be a overseer, elder, pastor. And just remember that these are the qualities that an elder is to embody. We're not to be completely perfect. I mean, well, we are, be holy as God is holy, but obviously we all stumble, we all fail, we all fall short. There should be quick repentance. There should be public rebuke if necessary. But more often than not, these character traits are supposed to be the elders on a day in and day out basis. And if they're not, if they fail to be any one of these things, you'll see it in 1 Timothy 5. But what we do is we bring charges against elders to the rest of the elders, and we say, hey, so-and-so is not being faithful to his wife. And as long as two people will bring up the same thing, the elders are supposed to deal with that, investigate, go see what's going on, and admonish if necessary. But as a general rule, any potential elder should embody all of these characteristics.